I look evil.
Monsieur Eaton.
Monsieur Eaton.
Monsieur Eaton. Monsieur Eaton, I'm talking to you.
Okay, skip this bit. Okay, on with the line. I killed her. Trying to find a way out of it.
For a moment, I admired the charming streets of Montmartre. I tried to start the car, but it ran out of fuel. I already returned from l'Opéra Garnier on fumes, and there was no way to go anywhere else. I decided to go for an evening walk.
Yeah, why not?
I looked at the poster of the play Prométhée, sponsored by Le Feu Company. It was the exact premiere where I had spent. I noticed an advertisement for a place. Then I read. For a moment, I admired the charming streets of Montmartre. I read cultural announcements.
Excellent.
For a moment, I admired the charms of Montmartre.
Dogs.
For a moment, I admired the charms of Montmartre.
Try to get him doorway.
I drank some decent champagne. Then I read cultural announcements. Then I read cultural announcements.
They got my ass kicked.
I entered the Café de Paris cafeteria. I wanted to drink some good wine and eat a piece of cheese. A group of Parisian rabble tried to throw me out, screaming that there was no room for gypsy thieves. They beat me and threw me into the street. I was all covered in blood.
Did you report this fact to police officers?
No, Monsieur le Président. I decided that it was not worth losing my time.
And why is that?
A second of my work is more important than the lifetime of each and every one of those plebeians. Besides, if I had reported it, I would have done them a favor.
What do you mean, Monsieur Eaton?
In jail, they would have had better living conditions than those holes that they call houses.
I understand. Please return to your testimony.
Hovels. Do it on time.
For a moment, I admired the charming streets of Montmartre. I do not recall that part. For a moment, I admired the charms of Montmartre. Then, I opened the gate. I opened the door and walked into the Caucasus Hotel. I opened the door to the phone room. I spent a few minutes talking on the phone.
We're doing for time.
I spent a few minutes talking on the phone. Next, I wanted to open the door to the restaurant, but it was closed because of the late hour. I opened the door and walked out into the street. I opened the gate. For a moment, I admired the charms of Montmartre. I drank some decent champagne. I read cultural announcements. I read cultural announcements. I opened the door and entered my building. I opened the inner door. Then I opened the elevator grate.
I was pissed.
Then I took the elevator to the second floor. Then I opened the elevator grate. Then I opened the door to my apartment and entered. I watched the frames hanging on the wall. I loved their simplicity. It enhanced my creativity. I used the stairs. Then I opened the door. I saw that the safe was open, and someone had stolen the designs of my most important invention.
Do you suspect someone who might have done it?
No, Monsieur le Président, but I was going to find out.
Fence.
I worked on my new invention for about half an hour. I spent a few minutes talking on the phone.
Who did you call?
It has nothing to do with the case, Monsieur le Président.
Well, please continue.
I was tired after the banquet, so I immediately went to sleep. I was even too tired to undress.
Is it all you want to testify, Monsieur Eaton?
Oui, Monsieur le Président.
And so I close the hearing. It is time to present your positions.
Monsieur le Président, the accused tried to trick himself off the responsibility. He used cunning rhetoric, trying to hide more and more of his new lies. However, in view of the evidence presented by the prosecutor, I have no doubt that Alfred Eaton, defendant who appeared today before the court, murdered Marie Capet in cold blood.
Oof, no, didn't.
Please, let the High Court not be deceived by his tearful stories about a poor gypsy from the country who gained his success with hard work, and which Marie Capet so cleverly tried to destroy. It was the accused who destroyed the life of a poor girl and her family with full premeditation. And what did that poor girl do to deserve such cruel fate? She was searching for a better life, and was employed as a maid in the same building in which a dangerous psychopath lived. According to the prosecution, the accused is guilty, Monsieur le Président. Therefore, I apply for recognition of Alfred Eaton, defendant who appeared today before the court, guilty of all charges against him, and for imposition of the death penalty by beheading on the guillotine. Thank you. Monsieur le Président, Monsieur Prosecutor used a lot of high-flown words. However, during the preparation of indictment, he made many mistakes. As to the hotel room, my client had never rented a room in the Caucasus Hotel. The guest book was falsified, and the clerk made a false statement. As to the alleged attempt to use the torture device on the victim, my client did not intend to use his interrogation device, which the prosecutor describes as a torture machine, neither on Marie Capet nor on anyone else. It is important to emphasize the relationship of Marie Capet and my client. According to the testimony of the victim's parents, she felt a deep resentment and contempt, both for my customer and for his work and success. As to the meeting with Marie Capet in his apartment, my client has never met with Marie Capet in his apartment. We do not know where Madame Capet's fingerprints inside of that apartment came from. As for Alfred Eaton's weapon, please note, Monsieur le Président, that my client testified that he had not had the murder weapon on himself. The knife was in his secret workshop all that time. Everyone could have stolen it and then dropped it off.
Yeah.
As for the murder, as my client testified, he did not kill Marie Capet. So, who did? As for the testimony of the neighbor who saw Alfred Eaton entering the building covered in blood, according to my client's testimony, that meeting had never taken place. So the witness made a false testimony. Taking into account the evidence from the neighbor's opinions, the witness might have had a motive, an aversion towards my client, and racial prejudice. Thank you, Monsieur le Président.
So, what did I get this time? Shall I escape? Let's read some mail instead.
Mon cher ami, I am in a deep regret that you had to stand before the court accused of such a terrible deed. I assure you that I deeply believe in your innocence and will do my best so that you can continue to work for the glory of Le Feu and toute la France. Cordialement, Hugo Argent. Monsieur Eaton,
justice.
please hurry. The court is ready to announce the verdict.
See if justice is served.
The verdict on behalf of the République Française. The court, as present, hereby finds that Alfred Eaton, accused of murdering Marie Capet, is guilty of the charges against him.
No way.
And sentences the accused to the death penalty by beheading on the guillotine.
Shit.
The executions will be done in Prison de la Santé the next day.
Hell. Oh god. Groundhog Day. Well, I didn't do well then. Oh well. I'll try again. Shit. Beheaded by guillotine, and I escaped. I'll be showing you that that video at a later date, guys. Shit. Thanks for watching. Damn, this game was a killer.